Hello and welcome to the Producer Joe Show. Kind of a last minute show here. Six circumstances dictated otherwise that we have a show today. I appreciate you tuning in, and it's going to be an interesting show today. Not so much the fun and frivolity that we might normally have, but I'll let our guest talk about the reason why we are here today and the reason we are live on a Saturday when we're usually on Tuesday. So, without any further to do, we have the legendary, the one and the only Shotgun Tom Kelly. Tom, hello there.
Well, hello, Joe. How are you? It's great to be on your show. It really is.
I appreciate that, Tom. I really appreciate you coming on here. I know that you and I spoke earlier this morning, and you were telling me about you're going to be doing your show on Sirius XM on New Year's Eve,
Yes, tomorrow night.
live
Yes.
tomorrow, which would be Sunday, and
Yep.
we can touch upon that before we go off the air here. But
As a
there's
matter of fact,
much more
there's a
pressing matters at
microphone that I'm
hand.
going to
There's
use.
Oh, I like that. 60s gold. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Much more important things to talk about right now. And I'm going to pretty much give you the studio right now to talk about why we're here right now. Are we why are we on the air on a Saturday afternoon? So from here, I hand this to you and I'll interject when I think I need to. But right now, the microphone is yours.
Oh, thank you, Joe. We had a rough day yesterday. Uh, when I came to Los Angeles, I succeeded an incredible radio announcer, the real Don Steele. Now, for some of you who maybe not know who the real Don Steele is, if you saw the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with Brad Pitt, you heard the real Don Steele's voice. When Brad Pitt went down to his car and put the key into the ignition and 93 KHJ, I'm the real Don Steele. That was the real Don Steele. And Don was a big guy. Now, that's Jim Carson there.
Whoop, my bad.
But yeah, that's okay. We'll talk about Jim here in a sec. But the real Don Steele, there he is. That's Don with his wife, Sean. And he was like one of my heroes. I mean, I used to listen to him all the time. And when he passed about 52 years ago, about 25 years ago, I'm thinking, they needed somebody to succeed the real Don Steele. And that's how I got the job at K Earth 101. Well, we were Sean Steele. You saw her picture there with her husband. She was distraught, obviously. But the Gavin report, here is Sean there. She was, oh, she's so beautiful. She really is. She just did, I mean, the real Don Steele was her life. And so when we're at the Gavin convention up on stage, I said to her, I said, Sean, there's no way that I'm going to replace your husband, the real Don Steele, because nobody, and I mean nobody, could replace the real Don Steele. I've been a fan of your husband's for years, and all I can tell you is I'm here to succeed. Keyword, succeed the real Don Steele. And I did that for 20 years. Well, by doing that for Sean, we became fast friends. And we hung out together in Hollywood. She was in Hollywood working as a court reporter for a while. Then she went to work for the California Highway Patrol. And then she retired from the California Highway Patrol and decided to move to San Diego, where her sister, Jill, resided. And so, anyway, after 20 years of being in Los Angeles and at K Earth 101, now I moved to San Diego and moved my studio to what I'm doing now, Sirius XM, channel 73, 60s Gold. That's what I'm going to be doing tomorrow night. But back to yesterday. Friday was a rough day because Sean was taken to the hospital a couple of weeks ago in an ambulance, taken to Mercy Hospital. And I went and visited her there. She was in critical care. She had trouble breathing, and she was on the ventilator, the breathing tube. She didn't have COVID, though, no COVID. But she had some problems, and they corrected some of the problems. Well, about 4 days ago, they decided to take out the breathing tube to see if she could breathe on her own, and she did for a couple of days. But then yesterday at 8:15, Sean Steele, the real Don Steele's widow, passed away. So I got that information in the morning. And then throughout the day, getting a lot of calls about Sean Steele. And of course, everybody knew her. I mean, she was the real Don Steele's wife, and she knew everything about him. She has all his memorabilia, and it was fabulous. So she went to a lot of radio reunions in Los Angeles, and I was at a couple of those. The most recent one I couldn't attend, but and she couldn't either because she was down here in San Diego. But anyway, she was very well connected. Still, even though she lived in San Diego, she was still connected to the people of Los Angeles, the radio announcers there in Los Angeles. And another one of her close friends was Jim Carson. Now, Jim Carson and I worked together at K Earth 101. I did the afternoon show. Jim Carson did the midday show. So that means Jim was on before me. I came on after Jim. There he is right there, Jim Carson. And what a great guy. Now, Jim, not only I worked with him, but I first met him in San Diego when he worked at Boss Radio 136 KGB. My wife, Linda, worked there at the time. And so we remember him being a boss jock. Now, I believe I have a picture of Jim in San Diego almost 50 years ago. It's unbelievable. As a KGB boss jock, there he is. Jim Carson. I believe that was 1968, 69. And at that time, he did the all-night show. But he was so good that Mark Dennis, who was the program director of Boss Radio 136 KGB, decided to put him on the morning show. So Jim was the morning man at KGB. He did so well as the morning man there that he got promoted to go to KFRC in San Francisco. And so he went up there and was very successful as the morning man at KFRC. And he's a Los Angelino kind of guy. So he wanted to come back home to Los Angeles. He did that, and he went to work for K Earth 101 as a part-time guy. When Robert W. Morgan had his problems with cancer, Jim would be in the studio, and Robert would be at home, but they would still do the Robert W. Morgan show together. Jim would run the board and the controls, and Robert would be at his home with a microphone. And so they continued the Robert W. Morgan show for a while until Robert got bad. Well, he couldn't do the show from home anymore, so Jim took over. So Jim took the show until Robert W. Morgan also passed away from the same ailment that the real Don Steele had. They were both smokers at one time, and they both passed because of lung cancer. So anyway, Jim continued to be part-time. Finally, we needed somebody for midday, and Mike Phillips decided to put Jim Carson, take him off the morning show, and put him on the midday show. And that's where he stayed for a good long time. And I was on the afternoon show. He was middays. Well, yesterday, Saturday, I remember Sean Steele passed away in the morning at Mercy Hospital at 8:15. Jim Carson, we were at a party, our next door neighbor's house, and I got the word from Johnny Kay and Tony Pepper that Jim Carson had passed away in the hospital because he went in there for a heart valve, and I guess it didn't go right. So he passed away last night at 8:45. So that kind of capsules what happened to me yesterday. And a lot of people loved both Sean Steele and Jim Carson. I hope that gives you a little history of the deal.
It sure does, and you sent me this picture, of Sean, and
Yes.
it's and it's fantastic in a way because when you got your star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame, where did you get it?
Well, I requested it to be right next to the real Don Steele star because they had a
That's right.
vacancy there. And that's
That's
where it
right.
is today, right next to that star that you see Sean kneeling at. As you see, she was a very beautiful woman. She really
Yeah,
was.
she was. You and I have been friends for a number of years now, and I know that through our travels, you have mentioned both of these names numerous times. Do you have a story from each, or a story from one of them that you could share with us that really encapsulates the personality of each of these? Because they were very special people, and I know that there's a special San Diego connection. Of course, with each of them, especially with Jim Carson being KGB. But do you have any story that sticks out in particular, that comes to mind?
Well, Joe, I've got a lot of stories. I just didn't know which one you wanted to pick. Um, there was just so many. I don't really have any one story because there were so many fun times with both of them. Uh, Jim was selected to do a live broadcast when I got my star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and that's where those pictures come from. And then Sean, um, we were just good friends. She was ailing here. She had a problem, and so I used to call her every day. And she said, "You know what, Shotgun? Every time you call me, you brighten my day,
Yeah.
and it's always loads of laughs when you call me." But we entertained each other, I guess. Sean and I did when she was down here. Uh, I got her a senior living apartment with the apartments that are going up over at uh, at Fairmont and El Cajon. Now, dig that. Fairmont and El Cajon used to be the home of Pearson Ford.
Pearson Ford, that's right.
Yeah, they moved. They moved from downtown to Fairmont and El Cajon, and then eventually they moved away and sold the dealership. And now,
Kearney Pearson,
yeah, Kearney Pearson. Thank you very much.
that's right.
But they had a jingle. They had a jingle. Now that was 44th and El Cajon. So I think if there's any one story about Sean, when she used to answer the phone, I used to go, "Hey, is this Sean Steele, who lives at 44th and El Cajon? Sean Steele stands alone at 44th and El Cajon."
Yeah,
Just
it was a legendary jingle,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. But
I know as a native San Diegan, I have heard it millions of times.
yeah.
No, that's great. That's fantastic.
Well, I do have
Um,
one story about Jim that has to do with my dad. So my dad was a railroader on the Santa Fe, and he was on the Santa Fe from 1947 to 1977, and KGB on Pacific Highway was right there on the tracks. The tracks ran behind the radio station. There was a bowling alley with a dinner place, and they called it the Animal Bar.
mhm.
And so Jim Carson, working at 136 KGB, used to go over and have lunch or dinner at the Animal Bar. So I think it was more like dinner. So he went over there to the bowling alley and the Animal Bar behind, just next door to KGB. And of course, my dad and his crew used to park the switch engine right behind the Animal Bar, so to let the Amtrak by. Excuse me, I didn't hit my mic. But so he knew my dad, and so they became friends. He always said, "You know, I used to hang out with your dad and tell stories at the Animal Bar. It was really a great thing." So that may be a story, one of the stories about Jim Carson, and of course, you've got the other story about Sean Steele. I hope that satisfies you.
No, it sure does. We have a lot of comments rolling into the show right now. I think one by one, there's people very interested in your conversation right now. I think I'm going to post them up here right now for you to
Okay.
see. So some of these names you may recognize. So you can see that, right?
Yes.
Okay. So remember Johnny Mann?
Oh, Johnny Man did my jingle.
That's
Shotgun
right.
Tom Kelly, K
Kelly.
Earth
Yep.
101, and now Shotgun Tom Kelly, 60s Gold. Yeah, that's the Johnny
Johnny
Man
Mann
Singers.
Singers. That's
And I was
right.
good friends with Johnny, and he did all the Boss Radio jingles for
Yeah.
KFRC, uh, KFRC, and KFRC San Francisco. He did 93 KHJ. If you remember back to what I was talking about, that movie with Brad Pitt, and remember when Brad Pitt went down, put his key into the ignition, a jingle came up. It was 93 KHJ, and then the real Don Steele came on. But that was a Johnny Man jingle. Also, Johnny Man did a jingle for CKLW. CKLW, the Motor City. I mean, the guy was terrific. And
Detroit.
there's a video, if you want to see the session that Johnny did for my jingle. If you go on YouTube and go Shotgun Tom Kelly Johnny Man jingle, you will see the session of how he put together Shotgun Tom Kelly, K Earth 101.
I think that's maybe an episode you and I can do a little bit later on,
Sure, sure,
down the road.
absolutely.
I've been listening to a lot of, as you know, the Ken Levine podcast, Hollywood and Levine, writer for Cheers, writer for MASH, and he mentions the Johnny Man Singers a lot. And
Oh, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
fun to listen to that because it's one of my favorite parts of growing up is hearing those jingles.
Well, that's another guy who chimed in, Ken Levine. I just got an email from him this morning. He says, "Man, what a sad day it was yesterday. Sean Steele passed away at 8:15, and Jim Carson at 8:45 that night."
Yeah, no, it's been tough. Yeah, absolutely. So we have a couple of so Annette Rico says, "May she rest in peace. Loved her husband's radio show. Seems like part of the soundtrack of my childhood," which is really true. I mean, when you think about it, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, you're
Um,
right.
Pamela Stone. Here's a lengthy one, but I think it's interesting. I already read it.
Okay, let's read it together here.
Hi, Shotgun Tom Kelly. I sure do remember the real Don Steele at KHJ. He was one of the best DJs and such fun to hear. Sorry to hear the passing of Sean and send profound condolences for the loss. Love hearing you two on Sirius 60s Gold and hope you have a great New Year's Eve celebration."
Well, Karen, I hope you call in. I've gotten email from you many times, and I'd sure love to hear your voice tomorrow night on my show. The telephone number to call is 844 607 4653. That's 844 607 4653, which is 844 60s Gold.
60s Gold, that's right.
Yeah.
Liza, love Jim Carson. Sad about Jim.
From Pamela.
Liza, Judy. Hey, look at this. We've got Gary Allen.
Oh, yeah. How'd we?
The
Oh,
legend.
wow.
Gary Allen. We all love Gary.
Yes. Yeah, we do.
Definitely among the best.
Yeah. Gary was program director for years at KCBQ before
right.
I went there, and Gary got the wonderful opportunity of and Neil Ross and I grew up in San Diego, and we always wanted to work at 7th and Ash in that beautiful Crystal Studios, and Gary Allen got to work in those studios. Now he tells me that behind the glass was not all as it looked, because since the traffic was going down, you were on the air, you had to watch that you didn't pick your nose or something like that. But you were out there with the public, so you had to really behave yourself. But
Gary and I had about a 30-minute conversation on the phone last week. What a treasure. What an absolute treasure.
He's a great guy, man. He's come to a couple of your parties.
Yes, he has. And then we have Judy Archuleta, Life is Fragile. And Karen, sorry to hear the passing. Right, it was sad. I mean, I think you've definitely hit the the nail on the head here about these people. And let's not forget, we also had Jim Ladd, who we lost
Oh,
last week, and what
absolutely.
a pioneer, what a legend he was.
And Jim and I
Yes,
became friends later on in his career. And we both, by the way, shared we both had stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And I remember when he got his. But Jim Ladd was the AOR jock in Los Angeles for years at many album-oriented rock stations, AOR. Uh, and he was uh, what they call a free form DJ. He didn't have a list. He played what he wanted to play, and that's what made him free. And you mentioned his book, Radio Waves. So
yep.
many people have told me that's such a good book. I've got to get it one of these days. But as I said later on, and after he retired, Jim and I became friends. There it is, Radio Waves. Oh yes,
Well, let me tell you, somebody who had a cup of coffee and radio, this book transformed me. This book taught me so much about the ins and outs of radio and the transformations of radio and where we were then and where we are now. And
yeah.
yeah, he's yeah, that's a
Well,
huge loss.
I've got to call his widow Helene here. In fact, I was going to call her today before I got on your podcast, but I'll call her after I get off. She must be just heartbroken because
Sure.
she was so. I mean, she was his producer because he had a show on Sirius XM on classic vinyl, and he was on every Monday, and so that's what he was doing after he retired from LA radio. But let me tell you something about Jim Ladd. You may have read about it in that book. Tom Petty had an album called The Last DJ.
Hmm.
That album and that cat, The Last DJ, was about Jim Ladd.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's a fun fact.
Yeah.
I didn't hit the mute button here, did I? Now I hit my microphone. You can still hear me,
No,
right?
I hear you. I've heard you.
Yeah, I whacked it with my elbow.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a few more comments here. We have Sergio.
I love the comments. Let's keep them coming.
No, it's fantastic. Sergio, Terrence Morgan, who you know, absolutely.
Oh, Terrence, what a
You just saw
great
him a
guy
couple
he
weeks ago,
is.
right? Yeah,
Yes.
you saw him at the was it the Hollywood Parade
He was
or at
not
the
only at the Hollywood Parade, but every year I ride Gary Goltz's Highway Patrol car, the Broderick Crawford
yeah.
car from the series, and it looks just like the car. It's a well, he redid it. You know, it's not the actual car, but it's a '55 Buick, and Terrence wanted to ride in that car in the parade, and Terrence got the surprise of his life. He got to ride one year in the Broderick Crawford Gary Goltz Highway Patrol car, and he loves that. Now, Terrence and I also, Terrence is a big baseball fan,
Oh
and
yes, big Dodger fan.
oh, big time, oh, there we are, on the Hollywood Christmas Parade, and that's always fun. That really every year that's fun. That was in front of the Chinese theater. But
Yep.
yeah, Terrence got the surprise of his life. Terrence, he's got a lot of video with a lot of big players. I mean, he meets these players from the Dodgers, and uh, uh, who's the guy that um, I think you were his producer.
Kurt Bavacqua.
Kurt
He was very
Bavacqua.
involved. Yeah, he was very involved in the Kurt
Bavacqua.
Bavacqua show. Bavacqua.
Bavacqua. If I
Do you
thought
want to quote the do you want to quote Tommy Lasorda right now, Shotgun? I
no,
don't think you
you
do.
go ahead and quote him.
No, I'm gonna
I was
pass on
just
that
about
one.
ready to quote him. If I
One of the
don't
greatest sports interviews ever.
yeah, that's on
Um,
YouTube. You can't miss it.
so we have Carolyn here who has sent some hearts. Liza, I love
Oh.
listening to you on our way in. Oh, wait. I'm gonna let you read this one.
Oh, I know what she's doing. Yeah. I love
Okay,
listening to you on our way home in our automobile bubble. That's what I do. I hope you're staying out of trouble in your automobile bubble.
there you
I'm the only
go.
one that says that. A lot of things that I say on my show, nobody else says, but I say them. So
That's why
that
you're
is,
you.
yeah, that's true. You know, I don't.
Oh,
I just try to be me.
who is this? Amy Nelson. Oh, that's
I
my
think I know. Yeah,
wife.
she is so sweet. I'll tell you, you've got a great wife there, and she's got a wonderful personality. Um,
Yeah, she thinks she's the lucky one.
yeah. By the
I'm
way,
just
I
joking.
love that. You know, there's a guy that does portraits in my garage of everybody who comes to my house regularly and plays pool, and his name is Dan Mills. And I understand Dan did a portrait of you and Amy.
Yeah, yeah, he did, and we're gonna let a few more comments go here so I can
Okay,
actually post the
I,
picture because I wasn't ready for that.
I
But
know, but it's such a great
no,
portrait.
I want to show it because Amy and I go to Disneyland a lot, and I am going to. It's kind of hard to be the producer and the host at the same time
Yeah,
because you're pushing buttons and everything. I'm
that's
sure you know
right.
something about that. But I will pull that picture up in a minute for Dan Mills, the artist who does all the photos in your pool hall.
That's
We
right.
have Terrence Morgan again.
Yes.
I'm, I'm going to let you read that while I do my thing
Okay.
here.
Sean Steele loved it when I would share another picture of the Capitol of Capitol Records, which I have shared many times with her. And that's a TM, Terrence Morgan. You know, Terrence used to be a teacher. He's a retired school teacher. Anyway, you got Travis.
I didn't know that. I
Oh
didn't know
my
Terrence was a
God.
teacher.
Now this guy, Travis Bird, I worked with him at K Earth. Here's what Travis has to say. Miss you, Shotgun, and very tough news about Jim. He was such a great human, and I enjoyed my time down the hall with both of you at K Earth 101. Yeah, Travis is a great guy. I don't know, he might still be at K Earth, but he was in the promotion department. I remember I sold one of my cameras to Travis when he was getting into photography. I wonder if he still has that camera. It was a good Canon camera. But
Maybe
Travis,
he'll
good to hear
chime in
from you.
here and let us know.
Good to hear from you, man.
You mentioned the picture that artist Dan Mills did. Now, let me set this up. Dan Mills does all of the portraits that adorn your pool hall, which
That's
is your
right.
pool hall punks. It's the circle that's close to you, and I feel fortunate enough to be involved in that. But for Christmas, I wanted to do something special for my wife, and Dan composed this photo, this portrait right here.
Yeah, look at that. Isn't that great?
It's fantastic.
Now that's you and Amy at Disneyland,
Yep, it is.
and you're dressed very appropriately. Now, the reason you had to be dressed appropriately, and I'll let
Amy's
you explain
birthday.
that. It was
Yeah,
Amy's
this
birthday.
was Amy's birthday trip, and I believe she turned 30 last year,
Is that right?
and she's always had a dream of going to Club 33, and with the help from some friends, and without giving too much away here, we were able to go into Club 33 and enjoy it. And I'm not going to lie, she had an ugly cry and we were able to do it. And the reason that she's dressed up in these balloons and I'm dressed up in these, whatever you call it, is that it's inspired by the movie Up, which is her favorite movie. It's really special and we had a fantastic time. And she had the birthday of a lifetime, and it's all thanks to those involved, which I don't want to
Yeah.
give too much away
And
because
now Dan Mills is an incredible artist. That's one of many that he has done. Dan Mills is also the brother of John Fuel, a very good friend of mine, who also
oh,
comes
John,
to the pool hall. John
to the
was the
pool
one
hall.
that got his brother involved in providing us all those pictures.
Yep, you're right, and it lines your pool hall for
Yeah.
all to see, and it's
Everybody,
got people on there.
everybody comments about that. I shouldn't say pictures. I should say
Portraits,
caricatures, because
characters.
he makes us look a little different. Well,
Well,
he
you've
takes
got yourself up there. You've got
yeah,
Wes Owen, who did the backwards happy birthday.
yes.
You
And now
have Rod Luck.
On Wes's picture, he's wearing the 3D glasses.
3D glasses.
You know,
Yeah, because that's his
and
specialty.
because Wes is a 3D expert, you know, so that
Yeah,
Wes
the
would,
man is brilliant.
Wes would have
Um,
like
let's see.
this.
So we go to a fellow. Oh, look at that! Look at
Oh
you. You
my!
come prepared. You got props and everything. What are you, Carrot Top?
No, I just whenever Wes sends me something in 3D, I gotta be ready.
Well, we went to lunch at DZ Aikens once, and he took a picture of the table from the
Yes,
end,
in
and you can
3D.
see it in 3D, and it's one of my favorite pictures. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. So we have here fellow Tom. We have Tom Hammett.
Oh yes.
And we will be sharing this. This will be on Shotgun Tom's Kelly Shotgun
I know what you're
Shotgun
saying.
Tom's Kelly's page. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. It's hard to be the producer and the host. I'm telling
You're
you.
doing fine. Let me tell you something. You're not the only one who's the producer and the host. There's a guy that does the Stew Show. Are you familiar with him?
Oh, not that one.
Oh yeah, he not only he does exactly what you're doing. And I've been on the Stew Show. He's had a lot of celebrities on his show, and he does his show now up in the mountains somewhere. But that's the last time I was on the show. But he too, like you, Joe, is pressing the camera 1, camera 2, and putting up stuff like you're doing.
Well, it's not easy, and we try our best. And there was somebody at KFI, who was that would they would lay track upon track upon track, and they would pretend to be God dang it, I can't think of the name right now. Chris Merrill would be kicking my butt right now if he knew.
Oh, is Chris back on KFI? I heard he was.
Chris filled in just the other day.
That's what
on KFI, and
you know what I
Chris
heard?
Merrill.
I heard Chris Merrill tell my Imogene story.
Oh, geez. Would you like
Yeah,
to
he
share
did.
that story?
Well, I guess I can.
I mean, you got an audience right now, so why not?
Okay. I was embarrassed. Probably one of the biggest mistakes that I did in my career. And I kept it buried for years. I did this in 1971. And I was so embarrassed about it that I just didn't tell anybody about it. I let it fade away. Well, one day when I was working at KFMB brought this lady in to try to get us acquainted with the television side. The radio wanted to get acquainted with the television side. So they team you up with, I'm a radio employee. They team you up with a television employee. So I was teamed up with Ted Leitner. So Ted and I had to go off and find out our deepest, darkest secrets about each other. So he said, okay, why don't you go first? Now it's just me and Ted. Nobody else is around. Just me and Ted. And I said, Ted, I've got a story that I got to tell you that's very embarrassing. He said, go ahead, go ahead. So I said, well, when I was at KCBQ in 1971, we had the opportunity to be the world exclusive for the brand new John Lennon song. And we made a deal with Capitol Records that we would be the first radio station ever to play that brand new John Lennon song. And then the next day, the whole world can play it. But we had the world exclusive. And we never knew when it was going to come in. So we have promos on KCBQ. KCBQ has got the brand new John Lennon song, and you people here in San Diego are going to be the first people to hear that new song when it arrives. We didn't know when it was going to arrive, but it arrived on my show. We flew it down on PSA Airlines. It's an acetate. Now, an acetate only has about 13 plays because it's soft. And so we did a big with TV, we had TV cooperation from KFMB and I believe Channel 10 also. So anyway, we took the acetate off the PSA airline and put it in an armored truck. And so we had a motorcycle escort out to Santee, and we got the acetate, and Rich Brother Robin decided that, well, he was going to make sure that brand new John Lennon song was going to sound good. So he wanted to put it on tape, put it on a tape cartridge. and he
Mhm.
hand wrote the name of the song. Well, he gave it to my intern. My intern rushed it into me. Now you got to realize I'm a little nervous because there's TV cameras on one side, and I've got to unveil the brand new John Lennon song that everybody has been waiting for. So I go on the air and I go, ladies and gentlemen, on the Shotgun Tom Kelly show, we now have that brand new John Lennon song that you've all been waiting for. Nobody knew what it was going to be, but now it's here. That brand new John Lennon song right now on KCBQ and the Shotgun Tom Kelly show. And I read the cart that Rich scribbled the title. That brand new John Lennon song that we've all been waiting for, Imogene. It was a
Oh,
magic. Yeah. And so I told
legendary.
Ted Leitner that. He said, "Why have you been hiding that? That is
That's
gold.
that's
That
gold.
is
Absolutely.
gold." What? What'd you say?
That's no, that's gold. I'm reverberating
Yeah.
Ted's words.
Well, Ted thought it was so funny. He told it on the news. And then one time the Padres are getting rained out in St. Louis. He did the national scores and the American League scores. And then he ran out of, it was still raining. So he said, I gotta tell you a story about my friend Shotgun Tom playing the brand new John Lennon song. And he told that story during a Padres game when the Padres were away. Unbelievable. And when I got my star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Johnny Kaye did the same thing in front of the press. All the TV stations were there, and he told that story. Now, Stevie Wonder was my speaker, and
Mhm.
when the punchline hit, you could see Stevie almost fell off his chair. Everybody thinks that's funny. When I was inducted into the California Music Hall of Fame recently, Johnny Kaye was my presenter, and he told that story again, and it always gets
It kills.
riotous laughter. But there is a delay. When you say that brand new John Lennon song, Imogene, people go, "Oh," and then there's a pause, and then they start laughing. So that's the story,
Ah,
and I'm sticking to it.
phonetic. Phonetics is everything. Let's see here. Where did I leave off? So I left off with Tom here. Please share this. I will be sharing this. I'm going to help you share that on your page. Um, Shotgun, have you penned a book with your radio memories? And I think that's a fantastic idea. And he's a 50-year radio guy himself.
Well, as a matter of fact, we're writing that book now. We've got 40,000 words written already, and we're looking to make 50,000 because I guess to make a book, you have to have 50,000 words. So we're almost there. We got about 10,000 more words to go. And I've got 4 editors. My wife, Linda, is helping me on this. Neil Ross is also helping me on it. So the book should be out, I'm thinking, the middle of 2024. And I hope you folks, when you find it, it's going to be on Amazon. uh, please buy it. And of course, I'm going to be on different shows, TV shows, plugging the thing,
Yep.
and radio shows around the country. So I hope you enjoy it. Now, that's my book has got just about everything in it. Shotgun Tom has had his ups and he had his downs, and they're all in the book. It's not a happy dappy. Well, it is happy, but there are some chapters that aren't so happy that I shared.
Hey, that's radio. It's not all positives, and that's all part of the it's all part of the mixture right there.
Yeah.
Ken just saw Jim Carson at a radio reunion a few weeks ago.
Yes.
This, this one here is a little bit lengthy. I'll read it. R.I.P. Jim Carson, a radio legend from Los Angeles, just started in SoCal. Is a super entertainer. Vic G on Super
Yes.
15 KBLA. Jim was super friendly when I reached out to him on Facebook several months ago. RIP to Sean Steele in 93. She gave my first playing gig at Oldies 93 KCBS FM. She was music director when her husband, the real Don Steele, was afternoons on competing Oldies station K Earth 101.
Yeah. Josh is absolutely correct on that. Yes.
Yeah. Gary, hard to believe. Jim
Left us so
called me on
fast.
December 23rd, asked him to meet for lunch. I always told Jim I love him on
KIQQ. Yeah, he worked there for a while. Yeah.
Got some emojis going on here. David Leonard. We all know David Leonard.
Oh, yes. David Leonard. What a guy.
Yeah. Huge loss. Danny Moran. We've got one here from Belgium. Nice.
Wow. Let's talk about
Condolences.
this one.
Viewing from Flanders, Belgium, not far from our capital, Brussels. My condolences with this loss. I don't know who or what they were, but I understand they were special people to you. I follow a few American radio stations and shows via the internet. Now that's fantastic. If I can just interject here, I think it's really great how radio has been able to make all these changes, and it kind of goes back to Jim Ladd's book. You know how it's all been able to evolve, and now a lot of it is internet based, and I think it's great. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, you're speaking to the world.
Yeah, no, you're
Isn't that
right.
cool?
You're right.
Thank you,
And
Danny.
moving over
Danny,
to
that's
satellite radio, here you are, and people can be able to hear you anywhere. Rosalinda got some emojis going on here. Liza once again. And then lastly here we have Terrence, and thank you for the shout outs. Appreciate that.
You got it, Terrence. You're a good man.
Well, I think I'll wrap this up here unless another comment pops up. But I think it's been very touching what you've said about your friends here, all three of them. I know it was a tough day for you, and I feel for you. Yeah. And it can't be easy. But I think you conveyed all of your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions right here, and everybody was right there with you, and I like that, and people are here with you, and they love you. And lastly, if you would like to talk about tomorrow's, which is New Year's Eve show, again, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, I do my show from my studio, but usually during the week, I ask people to write me emails because I don't have a telephone in here. But every once a year, Sirius XM, they sent their engineers out, and I've got a wire over here, and they're going to bring a phone in. And tomorrow, from 7 to midnight Pacific, and you people in New York City, you'll be able to tune in from 10 to 3 in the morning, and you'll be able to call in at 844-60s-GOLD or 844-607-4653. 844-607-4653. And I'm going to be able to put you on the air to request your favorite 60s song and what it means to you. I hope I hear from you tomorrow night during my show and be able to put you on the air and be able to hear your voice. I hope you're going to be there.
If you can't call in, scrolling across the bottom right there, you see shotguntomkelly.com. Contact. That's if you want to make any requests.
Yeah, write me an
email. And as I understand it, you get back to everyone. You tell them which song it will be following, and you will put their request on the air. And it looks like we have one more comment here. We have Larry Lee, loved KCBQ, just a few miles from where I am right now. KCBQ Studios in Santee. Which,
by the way, Larry, have you seen our KCBQ monument right there in front of the In-N-Out Burger? We put that in, I think, about 12 years ago. That monument went in, and it stands right there at the In-N-Out Burger. Now, when we put that monument in, the mayor of Santee, Randy Vopel, I wanted the monument to be where the entrance to KCBQ was, off Mission Gorge Road, where they parked the cars, and where the studio was. And so the mayor said, no, you don't want it there. You want it here in front of, I believe it's Kohl's department store.
Yep.
Well, that's where the towers were. And he said, no, trust me, Shotgun, you want the monument there. Well, 2 years later, the mayor knew something that we didn't. They built that In-N-Out Burger. And now when you go through and you order your In-N-Out Burger, you'll see this monument with all the names of the KCBQ jocks from 1958 to 1978 when it was a rock and roll station. So
And
check that
Gary
out.
Allen, who
And
just chimed in earlier too, is
yeah.
on there.
Oh, and by the way, it's on YouTube. Go KCBQ Monument, and you'll see a
Yeah.
full video of
It's a
that.
great video. I think you and I need to do a video out there pretty soon to remind everybody why it's there and where it is.
Sure.
But got a few more comments here. What is your
Okay.
secret? But somehow you look younger.
Who, me?
I guess so. I mean, they're talking to
Well,
you.
people have said that, but I appreciate that, Charlie. Thank you, bud.
Terrence,
again.
yeah, he does mention here he's a teacher. I didn't know that. I met Shotgun
yeah.
Tommy and Kurt Bavacqua on Facebook. We've been friends for many years. I guess he's talking about me here. Thank for sharing a podcast. Don't see you as often as he would like. But April talks about talking to you on the radio. But again, you can hit that contact at the bottom right there and send an email, and Tom will get back to you. I know that for a fact. Tom will get back to you. Oh, look at this. David Groot. Look at that.
Oh, there he is. Oh, David's correcting me. The Stu Show, he does it from Pine Mountain Club. Now, David, how did you know I was doing this video podcast with Joe Nelson? I'm wondering about that. Did you send a note out or something?
I did not. I think you might have some followers
wow.
amongst you.
Thank you, David. We'll see you next week.
Let's see here. What else do we have here? Terrence. Yeah, I did do Kurt Bavacqua show for a while there. Love KCBQ. Hello from Louisiana. Excuse me, Louisiana. 30 years plus broadcasting. Yeah, that's great. Tom Brooks. Larry Lee loved Rich Brother Robin.
Oh, yeah.
Terrence says, I first heard Shotgun on B100, spring of 1977. KFM, BFM, that's right. I was happy when he came to K-Earth in Los Angeles. Been a fan of the real Don Steele. 1966. Yeah, the guy was definitely beloved. Listen to Fabulous Shotgun Tom Kelly, KCBQ. I'll let you read this one.
Oh, yeah. Larry Lee says, winner. The real Don Steele would always do that. When somebody would win a contest, he'd go, winner. You know, it was just fantastic.
He said it before everybody else said chicken dinner.
Yeah.
Terrence is going to buy your book.
I hope he does, yes.
Sorry for your loss. Mark Schaefer here with Chopper the Biker Dog. We all love Mark.
You know, when I had my quadruple bypass, Chopper came in and sat on my lap. He's a very famous dog. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, Mark has a big heart. Mark has I don't want to say the word celebrity dog, but he's had Chopper and Chopper Jr. and they go to patients and help.
Yeah, they do.
And they came to see my father before he this is tough. He came to see my father before he passed away, and it meant a lot to me. And I'm emotional. Yes, I am. I'm not going to lie. But he did come to visit my dad before he passed on. Terrence Morgan, Devil with the Blue Dress. Donna Tabor, that shotgun at Grossmont Hospital.
Back in 74, huh?
Dennis got me the spark, interested in radio. I'm not going to lie. You were part of the reason that I was interested in radio myself.
Oh, that's great.
Valerie, tell the story how you got the name Shotgun. I guess we're going to go long on this one. That's okay. I got time.
Well, I don't want it to go too long.
I think people like it.
But I'll go ahead. Now, there's a lie, and then there's the truth. What do you want to hear?
Well, I'm guessing she wants the truth. Valerie wants the truth.
The truth's going to take some time. I was at KACY in Oxnard, in Ventura area. We're serving the Oxnard, Santa Barbara area. And I was at KACY, and I walked in there, and the guy said, "Your name is Bobby McAllister." I said, "No, my name is Tom Irwin. My real name is Tom Irwin, not Tom Kelly." But anyway, he said, "Well, if you're going to work here, you're going to be Bobby McAllister." I hated that name. So anyway, I was driving to work one day, and I heard the guy before me, Dave Conley. He said, Bobby Shotgun McAllister's coming up next. And I go, wow, that's kind of groovy. So I became Shotgun or Bobby Shotgun McAllister. Well, then Dave decided to get a new job in Bakersfield, and he got employed at KAFY, Cafe. And he said, you could come with me and use your real name, Tom Irwin. I said, I'm with you. So we gave our notice and we were off to Bakersfield. Well, we got to Bakersfield, and the general manager there said, well, you want to use Tom Irwin? I said, yeah. Irwin, it just doesn't have a ring to me. How about what's your nationality? I said, well, I'm Irish. How about Tom Kelly? And then Dave spoke up and said, yeah, we'll revive from Bobby Shotgun McAllister. We'll revive the shotgun and we'll call you Shotgun Tom Kelly. That's a long story. Now, the short story of I just invented this because I had to come up really fast with it. When I was doing weekend weather over at Channel 10 in the old days. Now, I didn't do it much. I just sat in for Mike Ambrose a couple of times. And I don't know what I'm doing when I'm doing the weather. It took me 8 hours to, put the numbers up on the board and stuff like that. And I'd call the Weather Bureau and all that stuff. And I was learning as it takes Mike probably 4 hours, but it took me 8 hours. So it's a 4-minute forecast. And so I only have 4 minutes. And so Mitch Duncan, the anchor, said, well, we have Shotgun Tom Kelly setting in for our Mike Ambrose. I've got a question for you, Shotgun. How did you get the name Shotgun? And I go, oh, no. I said, well, Mitch, I never liked to ride in the back seat. Always liked to ride in the front seat next to my dad. And that position is shotgun. We have a high pressure system, and I got into my forecast. So and I also told that when I got my star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, TV stations want to deal in sound bites. They don't like long stories. So one of the reporters said, how did you get the name Shotgun? And I said, well, I never liked to ride in the back seat. I always liked to ride in the front seat next to my dad. And that position is shotgun. And that was on the NPR station, ramp, off ramp. That guy did a great job on that. So if you want to go, that's on YouTube also.
Wow. You mentioned Mitch Duncan. You mentioned Captain Mike. Those are certainly names from my past.
Yep.
Any quick Wolfman Jack story?
Yes. Yes, I do. Well, I became a fan of Wolfman Jack when I was a kid. I must have been 12 years old. I used to DX and get faraway stations, and so I used to listen to him all the time from XERF, Acuña, Coahuila, Mexico, broadcasting over the tubes at Del Rio, Texas. So I was just fascinated with his voice. And so anyway, he had this album that he was putting out on the Bread record label. He said, get the Wolfman Jack album on the Bread record label, send your money in to Wolfman Jack. Cash, check, or money order, the Wolfman Jack record album on the Bread record label. Send it in right now while it's fresh on your mind. So I'm at that time I was mowing lawns. I got $1 a lawn, and I got my $3 together. So I went down and got a money order, and I sent it to Wolfman Jack, and I got this album. The album I still have today. There he is, and so anyway,
from American Graffiti, I do believe.
Yes, it is. Well, his name is Bob Smith, by the way, just like my name's Tom Irwin. But we always call him Wolf. And so I got to be friends with him as I got into the business. So, he comes and he's on talk shows. He was on the Roger Hedgecock's talk show. So anyway, I had this album that I bought when I was 12 years old. And what I didn't realize, it was Wolfman Jack when he was first starting out. And nobody likes to hear themselves when they first start out. I didn't know it. So I should have known it. Well, I kind of knew it then. So I gave Roger Hedgecock's producer the album. I said, play a little of this to set up the 10-second delay. And so he did that. So he played a little bit of the Wolfman Jack album. And then Roger comes on. Well, we have a very impressive guest here on the Roger Hedgecock Show. Welcome, Wolfman Jack. Oh my goodness, that's terrible. Don't ever play that. That's awful. Oh, that's terrible. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh, where'd you get that? Oh, I know where you got that. I'm gonna kill him.
What a legend. What a
And then
personality.
he came out to do a show with me at KCBQ that afternoon, and I was waiting for him. And by the way, a little bit of that is on YouTube too. Shotgun Tom remembers Wolfman Jack. Anyway, he came out and he says, Shotgun, that's terrible, man. That was a terrible trick you played on me, man. That was when I was first starting out. Oh, that wasn't funny at all. Anyway, that's my Wolfman Jack story.
We mentioned David Leonard earlier. I wanted to make sure and point out that this book right here, along with Jim Ladd, are the two for radio, the best reads I've ever read. And if you can find it on Amazon, which I know you can, get it. Air Check, David Leonard, please.
Now that book is great. It's not because my picture's on the cover. It really is good.
It helps.
Well, no.
We got a fan here, Donna, who says the Words of Poppin'. That was one of your TV shows. You got an award on that one.
Yeah, I got 2 Emmy Awards for Words of Poppin'.
That's right.
Thank you, Donna. By the way, that show was I was over at Channel 10, and I did that show for 5 years every Saturday morning. We taped it during the week for the other television stations, like in Indianapolis, WRTV, KMGH-TV in Denver, and I was back at CB or ABC 23. As a matter of fact, in Bakersfield, they have a picture of me as Nemo the Clown and a picture of me, Shotgun Tom, on Words of Poppin' right there, just before you walk into the newsroom. Now we have somebody asking about Jack Vincent. He said every time I go to In-N-Out Burger, what? I didn't get that.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. Every time I go to In-N-Out Burger, see, look at the monument. We need to do a video from that monument. I was just telling my wife as we were driving by there the other day, you and I need to do a video because it's been a little while since it was installed, and just to remind Santee, remind San Diego, remind your listeners what that monument means and how important it really is, because that's an important piece of property right there.
Well, I was at a party last night. My neighbors had a party, and a friend of mine who really is doesn't know radio. I told him the John Lennon story. He said, why would a small radio station like KCBQ be selected to play that? Well, it wasn't a small station. It was very renowned all over the country at that time. So it's hard to get people's head into telling people that KCBQ from San Diego was really respected nationwide. Hey, now, Phil Blar, I saw Phil. Phil is one of the greatest anchors, I think, here in San Diego. He had did you have a Phil?
Yep, I'm getting to it.
Oh, okay. We're not going to leave you out, Phil.
No, we're getting there. Oh, it was Jerry Vincent. That's why you thought you saw Jack Vincent.
Oh, I saw.
I'm sorry, Jerry Vincent. Nope, Jack Vincent. Absolutely. Yeah, you definitely know this name coming up. Phil Blauer, Fox 5. Absolutely.
There you go. Phil is so great. I'll tell you.
Yeah, he's a pro's pro.
He is, and Phil did the best report of all of the television stations that were there. He did a very lengthy report, and I'm so grateful and indebted to Phil. You can see that report that Phil did also on YouTube. So many people were there, but Phil did the best report. I got to tell you, it was more in depth.
No, he's good. Heartbroken over Jim, Robbie Von Roll. Great interview. My sister Kathy says you have an awesome train set. Way cool.
Yes.
I built now I know Robbie, and he builds in people's backyards. Like, remember the Skyway at Disneyland, the Sky Bucket? So he builds these for people's backyards, and they're insanely detailed. I actually have one of the ride cars in my workshop, but he builds full on sky rides that go through people's backyards.
Really? I mean, the
And
ones you can ride on?
well, you can't ride on it, but he puts little figurines on it. They're
Oh, yeah, models.
miniatures,
Yeah, models.
and
Yeah.
he's done it up in Anaheim in people's backyards. The guy is really, really smart and really good at what he does. And if you go to SeaWorld, if you go to the zoo, you got to ride a Von Roll sky ride for sure, which I just
Yeah, well,
did a
you
couple
know,
weeks ago
I
at the
think
zoo.
there's a lot of interest in garden railroads too in your backyard.
Yep, you're right. And you have one of the railroads, not a train set, mind you.
No, it's a layout.
It's a layout. I learned
Well,
that
I'll
one.
drink to that.
Charlie, great story. Thanks for sharing. My son was on there. Oh, David chimes in. Yep, definitely got to get that book. Uh, it's a smart book. It's a really, really good read. And we have one final comment. Or
Okay.
did you have something to say?
Well, I just David probably doesn't want me to say this, but when we had the KCBQ monument unveiled, David had a master book that he had, and he had autographs of everybody who he talked about in that book. They autographed it on their page, and evidently, during the course of the after the monument had been unveiled, and by the way, Ken Kramer did a beautiful job on that on his About San Diego. It's been on several times and probably going to be on again. Thank you, Ken. Appreciate all you did
Everybody
too
loves Ken.
for the monument. Yeah, but anyway, he lost his copy with all the autographs in. And David, I don't know if you got that back, but I felt for you. He sold it. You know, he was selling the books, and he sold the autographed copy.
I have one of those copies here. It might be out in my workshop, but it's a great read along with Jim Ladd's book. Larry, Happy New Year.
Yes, thank you, Larry.
Tom, once again, if you run across Alan Price, great internet radio station, 19 years of broadcasting out of Texas.
All right.
You are one of the best radio voices and personalities around, and I agree with that. I mean,
I'm just trying to fit in.
No, I think you know what you're doing. Say a few words about KPRI. Boy, we are going long. We're going long.
Oh my goodness! I'm sorry. Rick DeVoy. Let me tell you about Rick and I used to work together at KPRI. I was 16 years old at the time, and Rick was in the Navy, and so he was hired to do a show. And I wish I had the copy of the survey, but I decided that we needed to put out an easy listening survey with all the jocks' pictures on it. And so I had my picture, Jim Duncan, who became Jim Chandler, who became Jim Duncan from R&R, direct from Duncan. We had Rick DeVoy's picture on there. I believe, Don McCullough, who used to work at KMPC. So anyway, we had that. We only did one issue, but we have a classic issue, and Rick has that. Rick, I hope you come to San Diego. We'd love to see you again.
Chris, I remember the tribute you did for Big Ron O'Brien.
Oh, Big Ron was one of my dearest friends, and man, what a professional he was. He worked in Chicago at the Voice of Labor. He worked in Philadelphia at our sister station. He worked at Kiss FM, and there's video on YouTube if you want to see Big Ron O'Brien. He's just fantastic. And what a great talent he was. He did pass away, and yes, I did a tribute.
Another loss. Yep. Donna, so good to see you. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Donna.
Jim Knight, love Jim Knight, good guy. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Jim.
And then lastly here we have Don. Hi, Tom, from old KRIZ bunch.
Oh yes, I went to the Chris reunion about a year before I got my star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, because the guy who does the voice of Tony the Tiger at that time, Lee Marshall.
Oh, great guy.
Yeah, great. And Lee passed away also. We miss him also, but Yeah, I went with Lee said, well, come to the KRIZ reunion. And I worked at Chris for about a year. So I guess I qualified. So what do you say, Joe? We gonna wrap this baby up?
I believe this is a wrap. I really appreciate your time here. I know I'll be tuning in tomorrow, which is Sunday evening, on 60s Gold, Sirius XM, channel 73, right?
Yes, channel 73. Yeah. It's gonna
It's
be
going to be a good
7 to
time.
midnight Pacific, 10 to 3 Eastern.
There you go. I appreciate your time and such great stories about those we've just lost, and three huge hits in the radio business, and all I can think of is, it's better to have loved it all than not at all. It's good to have known these people and have them in your life, especially. And yeah, it's tough, but I think you covered it pretty well.
Thank you, Joe.
Uh,
Thanks for having me.
yeah, I
Oh, yeah.
appreciate your time. And
Somebody, I
couple,
guess John said he grew up in Chicago and used to listen to Big Ron on CFL, Super
yeah.
CFL.
Mark, once again with Chopper, great interview. Happy New Year. But yeah, I think this is good. This has been really good here.
All right.
I really
Thanks for
appreciate
having me on,
everybody.
Joe. I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it. Well, I'll be back on next week. I'm not sure who my guest is right now, but you will be back on, and we will do it. I got to point at this camera instead. We will do a video from the KCBQ monument in Santee. We'll talk about why it's there, the importance of it. We'll show the names that are on it. You'll share some stories on it, and I think everybody will really like that.
I think
And
they will too. Yeah.
and I appreciate everybody chiming in here, and it's been fantastic. You guys are wonderful, all the viewers, all the listeners. And Tom, thank you for your time, and we're going to put a wrap on this. And again, thank you for your time, and I will catch you very soon, buddy.
Thank you,
And
Joe.
we'll talk to you real soon. Thank you.
All right.
Bye bye
Bye,
now.
everybody. Thanks for your comments.